Texas police officer has been arrested in the shooting death of Jonathan Price. So Jonathan Price was killed on Saturday when Wolf City police officer Sean Lucas basically killed him at a gas station in North Texas. Now, that officer, Sean Lucas, was arrested on suspicion of murder in the death of Price, according to a statement made by the Texas Department of Public Safety. So, okay, what are the details? Well, on Saturday night, police were called to a domestic disturbance. Now, apparently there was a fight happening at a gas station, and Price had intervened to stop. Now, police officers, I guess, initially believed that he was part of that disturbance, that he was in there when he was actually just trying to break it up, according to his civil rights attorney, Lee Merritt, who's representing the family. Now, he says that shooting was, of course, not justified, unjustified shooting death, and that's why he's, of course, representing the family and challenging the police department's response to it. So now when police arrived, first Merritt said that Price had seen a man assaulting a woman and had gotten involved to stop it. When police arrived, Merritt said Price raised his hands and tried to explain what was going on. DPS said then Lucas tried to detain Price, who, quote, resisted in a non-threatening posture and began walking away. Lucas then fired a taser at Price and then immediately shot him afterwards. So there's a lot to this story. For one, why would you try to detain somebody for not committing a crime? For, breaking up a fight? I mean, if you listen to him and his account, like, hey, look, I didn't do anything. I saw these people fighting. I tried to break it up. What am I supposed to do? I didn't do anything, so, I'm not involved. All right. I mean, look, there's this resisting in a non-threatening posture. What does that even mean? He just put his hands up, and he's like, all right, I'm not involved. I'm going to leave. And you walk away. I don't know. I mean, and by the way, like, again, why was he under arrest? What crime did he actually do? I mean, this is why people say ACAB, all right? Because we have a system right now that trains officers to believe that people that are non-threateningly walking away, because no crime committed, all right, deserve to be tasered and then shot. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And yet here we have Price, another black man, not being violent, not being armed, and still being just unjustifiably shot and killed by a police officer. It's insane. And by the way, the DPS report found that the preliminary investigation of this incident indicates that the actions of Officer Lucas were, quote, not objectionably reasonable. So, unreasonable. Well, that would make sense. And now Lucas was booked into the Hunt County Jail on a $1 million bond. So, yeah, they found it was unreasonable to first tase and then shoot and kill this black man. Oh, you don't say. Gee, I wonder if I could have came to that conclusion. Now, the thing is, the family lawyer, again, says it shouldn't have taken even 3 days to arrest this officer because it was so obviously unwarranted. And I agree with that. I mean, yes, it seemed very unwarranted here. But you could also argue that these investigations do take time, to be fair. Now, that said, people are actually defending this cop. It's amazing. So now, in fact, during a prayer vigil for Price, a white man who was armed arrived to the scene with a semi-automatic weapon, a rifle. Things apparently got pretty heated. They were shouting at each other, and there was even an attempt to chase this guy, chase him off the property, away from that vigil. Thankfully, nobody was shot, but still, according to TMZ, police arrived on the scene minutes later, despite calls from the crowd to have the man arrested for allegedly pointing his gun at the BLM protesters. The man was allowed to leave after a long talk with the officers. No arrests were ultimately made. So I'm just going to go on a limb here and assume that this person is MAGA. That this is a MAGA conservative, anti-Antifa, protester who saw a bunch of black people get together for this vigil and said, "Oh, no, hell no. I'm going to grab my gun." And that's exactly what he did. And he shows up at this vigil. And obviously, people are pretty heated. It's an emotional moment. It's an emotional time. A black man just got unjustifiably murdered by a police officer. And this guy shows up and starts, obviously there's yelling, there's carrying on. And then there's, at some point, allegedly pointing a gun at the protesters. That's crazy. And then the police are like, they talk to him a little bit. Now, think about it. If the situation were reversed, say, white person was killed by a black police officer, and a bunch of All Lives Matter people held a vigil for this police officer, right, that was shot and killed. All right. And so what if this black guy comes up and he's got a gun and he starts an argument? Doesn't shoot anybody, doesn't do any violence, but just is there and has a gun. Do you think the police officers would go and talk to him and then allow him to leave without being arrested? Do you think that would be a situation that would happen? Not in your life. You'd be insane. And unfortunately, this is what happens. There is this double standard that does not apply to both sides. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.